So this is pretty exciting what arrived today. This is my flat pack DIY arcade cabinet from Flat Out Arcades. So really excited that it's arrived. So let's get it open and have a look at what we have inside. Now it is a bar top configuration because I figured we'll start with something a little simpler than a full-size arcade. So everything is really well packaged. That is brilliant. And here you can see parts of the cabinet. They're all really thick, so we've got it all laid out and we're going to start building it up. So I'm quite impressed with the quality of the build. It's really thick wood, it's quite heavy. I like that. I think it's going to survive quite well with me sort of manhandling it. And we've got little grooves and things like that for the suggested places to mount the little brackets that you have to grab separately. One thing just to point out, there was a very slight bit of damage, and I don't even know if it shows up properly on the camera. Must have taken a knock at some stage, so the little bit, the border for the T-molding has been knocked in a little bit, but I can get a screwdriver in there and pull it back out easy enough. So we'll start putting these wee mounting brackets in. That should be simple enough, and once we're ready, then we can start putting the plates or the pieces all together, and we'll start to have something that resembles an arcade cabinet. So here we are so far. We've got the bottom and the sides, and then I've just set the arcade the control deck piece on top here. Now what we have is the top piece where the marquee would go. So it's looking quite well. I'm quite pleased with how it went together. It took a fair bit. I'm going to add another little bit into the space here. That's where my marquee and my soundbar are going to go. Obviously this is all going to get painted before we do anything. So if we jump around the back, we can have a wee look. There's wee vents and things like that, which I'm not really going to need. It's going to be a pie in there. We're not talking a load of heat. There's a back bit that still needs to go on. I have plenty of room and access to get at everything as we're setting up the buttons, the monitor, the sound, run a power supply in there as well. So mounting the monitor, you've got a piece of wood all drilled for it. They match up with the holes on the back of most monitors, so it's easy enough to attach it to that bit of wood, and then it's going in there. And then we get to this, which is what I was dreading, the wiring up of the buttons. So the buttons are pretty decent. We micro switch, LED in the top. Joysticks are they come configured as an 8, but you can rewire them to be move the gate to be a 4-way if you wanted to. The micro switches are quite nice, easy enough to go in, and here they are all in position. So they're not wired up yet; they're just sitting on the or within the deck. So they feel good. The sticks are good. The buttons I was a wee bit worried with, but they do feel good when the micro switches are in place. Now forgive the mess here. I'm still new to all this wiring, so I've got them all set up and wired in place. And I'm not 100% sure if it's correct, so I don't want to tie them all down yet until I'm sort of happy with it. And here we go. This is the first boot up, just to make sure that everything is going to work. So I'm quite happy with how the Raspberry Pi is set up. We've had it before on the big screen with the Gamer Pro, so I'm pretty confident it's going to start. So here she is at the moment. Everything is now wired up. Monitor is in, joysticks and buttons are all wired up. The only thing that I haven't done is the LED, so I'll show you what I've got here. So I thought the whole kit was going to come with everything that I needed. However, the LEDs, the live and the neutrals are daisy chain and end in a fork spade. Camera won't focus on it there, but you can see what I'm talking about. So I don't have a driver or a power supply that I can wire this into at the moment. It's not a big deal. The way I've sort of got the panel rigged, it's fairly easy for me to... Oh no, big hair, get off.
it's fairly easy for me to remove the panel up again and get to them if I want to add these in. So for now, I'm happy enough that they're not going to light up. The buttons, when I first got them, I was a wee bit concerned with how they sort of felt, but after installed the micro switches and everything, they're a lot firmer. I'm fairly happy with how that's turned out. I'm liking what we've got here. The sticks feel pretty good. If I had to judge, sorry, they are like buttons and sticks are definitely better than the ones I have in the arcade 1-ups. The buttons are a lot firmer, better spring action to them, and the sticks have a better spring to them as well. So I'm very happy with how it's turned out. So I'm in a bit of a like the guys that I bought the DIY pack off, when I went back onto their site, they don't seem to be offering the DIY packs anymore. So the idea was I was going to build this, and then I was going to buy a riser that they were building for these things, and I was going to make it a full-size thing if I was happy with it. But they don't seem to be making the DIY packs anymore, so I've reached out, but haven't heard anything back from them yet, so I don't know what's going on. And hopefully I'll hear something back and we'll be able to figure something out. But for now, I might have to figure out something, some sort of hacky way of getting it up onto this. So yeah, like I say, everything is wired in. Now it's a wee bit of a mess back here at the moment, so you can see all the wires. I am going to go in there with a cable tidies and cable ties, get them all sorted out, because it is a wee bit of a mess and I don't like it. I know my cable management leaves something to be desired, but yeah, for this I'm definitely going to tie it up a wee bit. I need to get a power supply adapter, because we're probably going to have about 3-4 plugs in there by the end of this. The soundbar has just arrived, so I'm going to get that installed. That's the next thing to go on. Hook that into the Raspberry Pi, and then hopefully that's just going to sit in here at the back, and then we're going to get a LED strip and a wee marquee fitted to the front, and she'll be sort of in her final form. So I'm going to grab the soundbar, hook that in, and see what she does. Alrighty, so soundbar was easy enough to get in. It's actually USB powered, which is nice. I thought it was going to be mains powered, so I was going in our plug, but everything is in there. So she USB into the Raspberry Pi for power, and then the jack is also into the Raspberry Pi to take the sound. So we're going to fire up and see how we go. So flick the plug on there. We're booting up the RetroPie. I've got that bit in the middle is the power driver for the sound. So I've got about halfway at the moment. I don't really intend to mess around with it. I'm pretty much going to set and forget. So let's start her up here, and then we'll see what she does. She has a wee bit of a glow. It's not powerful enough to act as the LED strip for the marquee, so I'm not going to really bother with that. But yeah, nice wee addition, I guess. Okay, so we're about ready to start up here, and let's see. So I'll just load up something very quickly and see how it all goes. Okay, so oop, what's going on? Uh-oh. What? Oh, that's weird. Something's up with my player one. That was all working, so I'm going to have a little look, but for now, let me see. That was a bad game because the Alien vs Predator on attract mode doesn't have sound, from what I remember. Okay. Coin, I'll shoot it there. Uh-oh. Something's not right. Something's up with my config and the damn buttons again. Damn it, I thought I really had this. It's not one thing, it's another. Alright, back to it and we'll see what happens. There we go. So the issue with the speaker was fairly simple. Basically the emulation station is set to default to output the audio to the HDMI. But of course this the monitor doesn't have its own speaker, so I've changed it to use the headphone jack. That's a wee bit low. I wonder how high it can go. It's not that high, but there we go. You can see how dirty the screen is when it goes like that, but I got the player one reconfigured again, so happy enough. Everything seems to be working really well. So the next step is, like I say, get a marquee for here. Don't know what I'll do with that yet, but it's not easy. Yes, get a marquee for that, and then I'm going to get a bezel to go around the outside just to block off little bits of the gap in the monitor. I will still keep the power button showing just in case I have any issues, because that speaker's not bad actually. I don't mind that at all. But there she is. She's almost in her final form. Now just to figure out what to do with it. Where am I going to put you? Anyway, we're almost at the completion stage. I guess at this stage I will give a quick summary. So I'll bounce back, get my thoughts together, and give you a summary of how everything's gone. Only little minor cosmetic things left to do, so I'm fairly happy with how everything's turned out. The Raspberry Pi build has been absolutely incredible with RetroPie. I'm looking forward to starting up another one with Bartop and see how that one goes. And maybe at some stage, if I find out Bartop's a little bit easier or better to use, I'll swap it out in this machine. Anyway, see you in a few minutes. Hey guys, just want to give a quick update as to where we are at the moment. So everything is pretty much done now. Unfortunately, so you can see I've got it like pushed up against the wall and it's sitting on a bit of a platform. It is sort of center-ish, I guess. So my idea was that I wanted to build the bar top, which we've done, and then the company that made the bar top for me, they were also going to be selling extenders, or like a stand that was going to bring it up to sort of, you know, cabinet height, sort of similar to one of these boyos here. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure what's happened, but they've taken all of their DIY kits off the website, so you can't even get the bar top anymore. Now I've reached out a couple of times to them, but there's been no answer from them, so I'm not entirely sure what's happening. They recently, well, maybe a month ago I guess, updated their website, sort of a new design and things like that. Nothing out of the ordinary, but since then they haven't been responding to live chats, emails, and before they were really good. Like I asked a couple of questions, needed help with my order and things like that, and they were really good at it. And since then they've like completely gone silent, so I have no idea whether or not the DIY kits are just on hiatus for a little bit, or if that's them shelving that project. I really don't know. So this is what I've kind of done in the meantime. Works really well. Now I will say that I did have problems with the sticks and the buttons. I kind of knew about what I'm about to say and didn't follow my own advice. That when you're wiring up the controller board, that that button for player 1 has to be wired into the same, or sorry, it has to be a mirror image of that button for player 2. So as you have player 1, player 2, they have to go into the same ports or the same jumpers, so that when you're configuring them on the Raspberry Pi, there's no confusion. I also had one of the joysticks upside down, so that started messing me up, and I had to rewire the joysticks as well because the diagonal right and up right and down left wasn't working, which really, I found that really weird through the configuration, because I thought it would have just went, okay, there's the switch for up, there's the switch for right, so therefore that's up and right. It should have known, but yeah, a bit annoying. This is kind of almost its final form. So I have been looking at a couple of websites for a marquee, so I can get quite a nice one to fit here. If I want, I can bring this piece of wood down a bit, extend that, makes like a bigger area for the marquee, which I might do. The back still needs to go on. As you can see, there's the wall behind me, so I've left the back open because I was still tinkering and things like that. And then I want to get a bit of a bezel, so I kind of only need, if I'm going to bring that down, I kind of only need a left and right bit, and that's kind of it done. I'm very happy with how it's all gone out. Now I'm kind of just wanted to do this to see if I could. It was a bit more work and needed a bit more technical finesse than I first anticipated, but I'm fairly pleased with how it's all gone. Like, I now have pretty much a stand-up. I would like it slightly higher, but I'm okay. I've angled the screen up slightly more than I had originally, so it's working okay. Yeah, I mean, everything seems to be running quite well on it. I'm pleased with the soundbar, and you know, that was just a wee cheapy one. The monitor was one that I had, you know, lying around, and I did kind of want to do this to see how easy you could do it on the cheap. So I will go back and figure out my the cost of everything and give you sort of a breakdown on it, but as it stands, I think it's gone quite well, and yeah, I'm fairly pleased with it. Will I be making another cabinet for like the Batocera build or anything like that? I don't know. Like I said, it was a bit more work than I first anticipated, and it has it's not perfect. I'll give it that, but that's just my abilities rather than the stuff that I purchased. There's nothing wrong with the DIY kit, there's nothing wrong with the buttons or anything like that. It's my skill set of putting these things together where things fell down, but I kind of expected that. I'm certainly not going to be like building these things for sale. This is just for me. And yeah, I might actually get a wee bit of T-molding for the sides and things like that, and get some artwork and everything done. That's still a work in progress, but we'll see how it all goes. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me on this wee bit of a journey. I'll bounce back over onto the main PC here, and we'll do a bit of a sign off, give you the breakdown of the figures and everything. But yeah, catch you in a few minutes.
Alright, so we're back over here, and like I said, I want to do a breakdown of the prices that I sort of paid for the various bits and pieces. So it's just just over there at the moment. Like I said, I wanted to do this project to see if I could do it, but I also wanted to do it on the cheap because of the rising prices of Arcade 1-Up and the various competitors. I saw them as pricing themselves out of the market, so I wanted to see if I could build something of an acceptable quality that I would sort of sit and play with, and how much that would sort of cost me. So I do have a bit of a breakdown here. So if I jump over, I can show you what we were working with. So here's my little spreadsheet. So we've got the various items and their prices. Now the DIY kit and the buttons, those came from Flat Out Arcades. Now you can't get the DIY kit at the moment, it's just not available. The button kit actually isn't there as well, but there are other ones that you can go to, like Bitcade. They do various DIY kits as well, and they're of similar prices. The button kits you could sort of get from them as well, or you can get them off Amazon, things like that. The button kits, like, I didn't go out of my way to get anything expensive. It did come, there are LEDs and all in that one, I just haven't hooked them up as yet. So the buttons, like I said, were of better quality than the ones I would say would be in arcade one-ups. The sticks definitely felt better as well. Now I won't know until I've used it for a little bit what the quality and the longevity of those items are, but at the moment fairly happy. So the DIY kit, like I said, that was a 24-inch compatible kit, so that was £79.95, call it 80 quid. The buttons, 50 quid. I thought that was pretty decent for what I got with it. The 2 sticks, the 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 buttons that I used, plus I think I still have 3 or 4 spares. So it was a fairly decent price on that, plus you got the LEDs, wiring looms, all the rest of it. So for 50 quid, the Raspberry Pi, now this was a Raspberry Pi 4B 2GB model. Now I got the starter kit, which came with the plug, the HDMI lead, and a 32GB memory card. 32GB memory card, something to be aware of. You can certainly put a load of different ROMs on a 32. However, keep in mind that you may want to go up to a 64, or in my case I went to a 128. So that might be a little bit extra, but if you're looking at them in a sale, the 128 I picked up for 12 quid. It's a standard not Kingston SanDisk, so it's of decent quality and very happy with it. So the Raspberry Pi kit was 70 quid. Keep in mind you might want to up the memory capacity, then that's another 10 to 15 quid depending on where you're going for. The monitor, I was very lucky, I had one spare, so that cost me nothing. However, you can pick up a pretty decent second-hand, or what's the word they use? Retrofitted? No, that's not it. Refurbished one for about 70 to 100 quid, depending on what you're looking for. So remember that's there. I got lucky that I didn't have to pay that, but you can find some ones cheap enough on either eBay or Amazon Warehouse. The soundbar, again, it was a cheap one, so it was 15 quid. Fairly happy with it. It's a good sound quality that's coming out of it, easy to wire in. Very happy. The marquee, now this is stuff I've done research on, because I haven't got the stuff put on yet. So we're talking about 6 quid for a marquee. Now that's really good. See if I can find the ones I was looking for. The ones I was getting them off. Hang on. So again, this is a local UK based company, so Rockstar Arcade or Rockstar Print. They do a load of different things. So if we go into graphics, you can see all the bits and pieces that they do. They do stuff for Arcade 1-Up. There's a full Bartop setup if you wanted to do the sort of the various bits and pieces you will need to cut round yourself, but they are fairly cool. When we're looking at the marquees, so they've got 2 sections for them. Depending on the height you want, you can pick one up for a £5, and then it's only a couple of quid for shipping. So there are some really cool ones. I love the Bomb Jack one and the Bubble Bobble one. But the ones I was sort of looking for, because that is a multi-cade, there are sort of MAME and multi-cade kind of ones as you go on down. There's a nice looking couple of MAME ones there, but there's ones which have number of different characters. That's really good. And for a $5, now you're only getting the bit of plexiglass. Remember, you still have to get the LEDs to go in behind it. But you're talking a $5 for picking one of them up. That's really, really good. And if it's anything like the images that you're showing, I'd be fairly impressed. So I am going to pick up one of these ones from these guys fairly soon and get it fitted with an LED. I actually might go for the Marvel vs. Capcom one. It's really cool looking. So £5 for that. An LED strip. Now you don't want to be breaking the bank on that one either, because all you're really doing is mounting the strip back and forth within the cavity in there, just to project the light onto the back of the marquee to light it up. So I've given it an average there, so you can pick one up for about a $5, and then you can go up to £10. So we'll split the difference, call it £8. And then finally the T-molding. Looking at Flat Out Arcade again, they're doing it for 90p per foot. So I kind of went 10 feet to get it the whole way around the cabinet and left and right. So I think that's about right. I think that's about right for something like that. We're not talking the full stand and everything like that. So 10 feet, so there's £9. So in total, the entire build cost me £237.92, which isn't too shabby. Now, if I had wanted to get the stand-up, I believe Flat Out were going to do it for £138. I believe that was the intended price. So that obviously would have jumped me up just a little bit. So that would have then brought me up to $375.92. We're getting into the category then of an arcade one-up, one of the previous generations. So yes, you could pick up one of the previous generations and then modify that. So if you were talking, say, a 350, 370, then you would be adding in a Raspberry Pi and a few other little bits and pieces like a converter board, things like that to get the monitor running. But I'm fairly happy with what I have built. It didn't cost me the world, like £237 I'm fairly happy with. I didn't have to buy the monitor, and these wee bits I haven't done yet. But I like it. It's mine. I built it. There's a sense of accomplishment after starting it up and it all works and figuring out all the wiring, the buttons and anything else. I'm fairly happy with what I have. At some stage, and this is something worth noting as well, that can all be done in stages. So if you don't have the £237, you can get the DIY kit 1 month, and then the next month you can get the Raspberry Pi, and then the next month you can. So it can all be bought and built up in stages. Like that thing took me the guts of a month to build up, just in my spare time. Before that, I was working with the Raspberry Pi just on the TV, and I played with that for weeks. So there is time to be spent on these things, but I really enjoyed it. Like I've always enjoyed building the arcade one-ups. So it was a lot more complicated, I will definitely say that. Would I do it again? I don't know. Like I say, it was fairly complicated, but I really enjoyed messing with the Raspberry Pi and everything like that. And yes, I have started messing about with a Batocera build. So whether or not I'll put that into an arcade, I don't know. We shall have to wait and see. But there you are, guys. That is what it came out for me. I'm happy with the money I spent. I'm happy with the quality of the components that I got, and I'm happy with the final build. It's working very well for me. The only thing I'm going to do now is order that marquee, get it installed, and then I'll see about putting some sort of artwork on the side of it. But other than that, she's done and it works, and I'm happy. What do you guys think? Would this be something you'd want to take on as a bit of a project? Do you find it's maybe too expensive? Would you just consider continuing on with the rising prices of the arcade one-ups? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway guys, thanks very much for joining me, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.